Remember our roots, replant them in the motherland. I got a phone call from Salpi Gazarian, director of the Armenian Institute here at USC. After she got our spring appeal in the mail, she was really fired up about this tagline and about how it appeals to our sense of identity as an Armenian living in the diaspora. Now, we've launched tree planting campaigns at ATP about every 5 years to commemorate the Armenian genocide. We decided to do something really big for the centennial. It was a collaboration between our US and Armenia offices called the Living Century Initiative. Now, we know that people are looking for ways to connect with their roots and their identity as an Armenian, dealing with the challenges of assimilation, trying to be an Armenian living in the diaspora. ATP provides one way for people to get involved in something tangible. Many people talk about the way it feels to plant roots in the ground, in their homeland, to support something happening on the ground in Armenia. But let me backtrack for just a minute and tell a story. Another way we connect the diaspora is through a program called Building Bridges, where we bring some of what we're teaching in Armenia around environmental education and present it in new ways to students in the diaspora. Sarah Hayes, who runs the program, was presenting this project at St. Stephen's Armenian School in Watertown, and one of the students got really excited. She was following every word and won our trivia contest. I remember Sarah coming back to the office really excited. She was telling me that Zephyr knew the answer to every question. And we later found out that Zephyr went home equally excited and told her parents about everything they discussed, including our Centennial Initiative. So here's what the Living Century is in a nutshell. For years, we've been remembering the genocide with commemorations, vigils, lighting candles, doing petitions. We decided to look ahead to the next century. And Lucine Kasarjan, our country director in Armenia, coined this phrase, the living century. Very forward-looking and uplifting. Our philosophy is that we're planting trees, and I mean we, including the diaspora, that's largely been supporting this effort, because we believe in the future of Armenia. We're planting for later generations. It's a long-term play, a vision. So with the Living Century, we planted 10 new community forests in Armenia. These forests are named after historic regions that were lost in the genocide: Bitlis, Cilicia, Erzurum, Kars. What was unique here was that we got diasporans and people in Armenia to think about their ancestors and their ancestral towns that were lost, and got them to channel this interest, energy, and resources into building something in modern-day Armenia. Many of us are oriented toward our ancestral towns. How many of us have heard, my Armenia is Harper, or Sepastia, or Van? But we have a new Armenia that also needs our attention. I believe this campaign for the centennial was effective in bridging this gap in our identity and in our commitment to bring these aspects of our hybrid or hyphenated identities together. And here's how Zephyr's mom, Lerna Ekmekcioglu, a historian at MIT, described the campaign in an article. The Living Century Initiative is the best idea ever, Zephyr told us. We decided that instead of exchanging Christmas presents, we would plant trees in the name of our forefathers and foremothers who perished during the genocide or had to live in its aftershocks for generations. Our trees will be planted in the Sepastia, Cilicia, Constantinople, Erzurum, and Harper forests in honor of our perished ancestors and the regions they called home. She continues, our family stories are a testimony to the resilience we've shown in the face of devastation and evil. The Living Century Initiative, or Genat Star, enables generations of Armenians to connect with each other, as well as to our past and our future. Now, our campaign at ATP was multimedia. There was video, newspaper, email, a website, hashtagging. Even the family dog got one of our t-shirts. We also teamed up with Ukrainian to offer his book on historic Armenia as a gift to donors at a certain level. And while Matt's earlier book, a travel guide on Armenia and Artsakh, was popular with our donors as a gift, this new book on Western Armenia was even more popular, with twice as many given away as a premium. So clearly there's this proactive interest in our past in Western Armenia, as well as a channeling of that interest into something happening now for the future of modern Armenia. Another example of ways a family got engaged with the initiative, the Shamlian family donated a cluster of trees to celebrate the 105th birthday of a survivor in their family. Aslig Tetezyan Alemyan was born in Keri in 1910 and moved to the United States after witnessing the genocide. The family presented a certificate to Mrs. Alemyan and was kind enough to share this photograph with us. She's a brave soul who raised a strong family in the diaspora. Now, we encouraged people to plant trees, to send their family names and places for certificates to remember their gifts, and to post photos using our Living Century hashtag. This is just a small selection of photos that we got from the campaign, which were shared on social media. And this shirt has the tagline on the back and shows the name of the historic places from Western Armenia and some of the places where we're planting trees in modern Armenia today. In October, I had a chance to visit the Harper Forest with our founder, Carolyn Mugar, to plant trees in honor of our ancestors. This was a small community forest in Lori, and I have to say, it felt really good to be doing that, to put a shovel in the ground to plant trees that will be a forest in 20 years. We know this forest will give back to the community in many ways, from cleaning the air, helping to fight climate change, filtering water, preventing flooding and landslides. So many co-benefits for these trees, in addition to the jobs created by the people planting and growing them every season. And others had the opportunity to do the same, to plant trees in these new forests. We work with the communities to make sure they're well cared for, and they'll turn into a resource that will benefit future generations. And signs will remind us that these living century forests are connected with our ancestral heritage. A final anecdote from the campaign: we all know the legacy of Ambassador Morgenthau and his attempt to intervene with Ottoman leaders during the genocide. And many of us know that Henry Morgenthau III, his grandson, is a friend of the Armenians. Now, he's 99 years old, and he made a unique gift in support of the living century by donating $1,915. It was a touching tribute to this time in our history. And his son, Ben, Henry IV, planted a tree with his young son, Henry Morgenthau V, in our Hrantink Memorial Forest back in May. Here's a photo from that day, and it shows the way we're creating this continuity between our history, our stories, and always looking forward to the future. This work, protecting our land and our soil with trees, we're convinced it's an issue of national security for Armenia, but it's also good for people and the planet. We Armenians have shown that we're growers, we're planters. We all have relatives, fathers, grandfathers, mothers. Just yesterday, I was visiting with friends Haig and Hilda, and we were walking through their yard, and Haig was showing me how his father had grafted and cared for all of the fruit trees in their backyard. We all have stories like this of people in our family who had a knack for caring for trees. I'm convinced it's something that's in our blood, in our DNA, to be growers. Whether it's a business or a fruit tree, we know how to grow and be successful. We invite you to make a connection with us, whether it's virtually or by getting your hands dirty on the ground. So thank you for listening to my stories here at Innovate. Please join us to get rooted in Armenia.